Alright, I'm working on some sandstone tools for arrow making. So while I'm doing this, I thought I'd set up the camera. Now, this is a concrete slab over here, and this is where I do a lot of shaping. Or I do it on not this particular slab, but what I have done in the past is I've used the concrete slabs to help me shape the sandstone. And one of the things I made, I think I've shown this in other videos, or maybe in a photograph tutorial, but it's a pair of what they call shaft straighteners in the archaeological texts. And I made these, I shaped the outside by rubbing it on the concrete. So I just wanted to show you. I've used these a couple times, but I'm not a fan of using this particular type of tool for making arrows. I prefer to sand the arrow shafts down with something flat like this. Alright. I use a motion like this to sand arrow shafts instead of using the shaft abraders like this. Okay, I find that this gums up too fast, and I have to keep cleaning out these channels either with a piece of stone, a piece of hard chert, or another piece of sandstone, and to get out the wood that gums up inside there. Okay, so the way I shape a lot of the sandstone is to just rub it on here in a circular or figure 8 motion, or back and forth in an arc. I'll show you. I've made little shapes. This is an arrow making sander tool that I use for various contours on arrows, and I flattened this out today just to see how well this particular block worked. This sandstone actually gets very smooth. It's a little bit different than what I've used in the past. This one here has got fossils in it and lots of voids, which is good because it holds the abrasive material. And to make arrow shafts, or to sand them with this, you need to have some little bit of abrasive on there. So what I do is I just take another stone and I rub it on here. Same type of sandstone, so that the grit builds up a little bit before I start the sanding process on the wood. Okay, because if you just sand on smooth stone, it gums up. But if you have a little bit of abrasive on there, it works a lot better. Okay. So those fossils and the voids in the sandstone help to hold that abrasive. But if you have something really smooth like this, it gets really flat and finely contoured with no voids in it. It's hard for it to hold the grit, and the grit falls off the sides when you're trying to sand, and it doesn't work as well. Same with antler. Antler prefers, you know, a porous, gritty surface to be smooth or shaped. All right. So I was thinking of making this into a shaft straightener type of tool, because it feels good in the hand. It fits well, but it's got some weird shapes to it. So I was going to round it off, and all I do to shape it is I'll pick around the outside, and I'll take off areas that I think are in the way. That took off a little bit too much, but it's okay. My main area of interest is this in the middle here for sanding. Okay, and to get rid of this rough contour, I'll come over here and rub it around, and you can see Hope you can see that it works pretty fast actually. Okay, so I was going to make this kind of oval shaped and maybe sand down or shape this area back here a little bit. But anyway, I'm not going to show too much of this. It's pretty straightforward. Now this groove in here can be made by abrading with a piece of chert, but that actually takes longer than abrading with another sandstone. It works better if you actually sand the two stones together. Alright, it cuts through faster for some reason. But you can go back and forth and between the two types. And the harder you push it, the better. Anyway, that's how that goes. It takes a while actually to put a groove like that in there. I would say to finish this tool out the way I wanted it would take about an hour. So I wanted to make it smooth all the way around and put a deep channel in this as a abrader. See how that works. You know, I'll put some sand or some grit in here and in my hand and kind of cup my hand and abrade the shafts this way. Okay, see how that works. And I might not hold my thumb on there because it's already starting to irritate. I was doing it a little bit earlier, so I might use a piece of leather around my thumb or something. But I'll do more videos shaping with sandstone tools. That's just something I was working on today, so I thought I'd show it on film. And I've got two different kinds of sandstone. This one polishes to a much finer surface than this one. This one's got voids and sometimes it'll have fossils in it, which I like better. This has a little bit of a groove in it from previous attempts at using it as a sander as well. A wood arrow shaft sanding tool. You can use it like that, or you get the idea. But you can see it already with that little bit of abrading. You can see how some of the wood burns and deposits onto the sandstone if you don't have grit on here. Now if there was a lot of grit, it would work better. But you can see how easily that deposits on there, how quickly too. So it actually works more as a polisher than a sander when it doesn't have any grit on the surface, you know, without some grit, powdery, granular material. Okay. And it works for this type of tool and also works for something large like this. It'll also flatten that right out, even if it's irregular. And if I came down here and I showed you the surface, it's wavy. Even if it's wavy and you just go over the whole surface, it'll flatten it out reasonably well. This is not flat at all, it's wavy. And yet it'll knock off the high spots on here and make it smooth. Same with the side here. Even though that's not perfectly flat, it will flatten this out. And I use it, you know, I can use this 90 here for shaping another stone or shaping wood. You can see that's working pretty good. And two sandstones together work faster, like I said, than a piece of chert on the sandstone itself. Alright, let's see. And instead of using a hammer, you can use a hammer stone or a piece of chert to shape or to peck on this. I just use a hammer because it's easier. Okay, so after about 15 minutes with these two stones, I put a pretty substantial channel in this shaft straightener, and all I've been doing is just abrading these back and forth. This has got a 90 in it here, and it's pretty easy to shape. Like I said, you just drag it against this this slab. When it starts getting dull, I just and it flattens out that side, and I can do it on this side too, but mainly I've been just flattening this side here. It works okay. And then I come back and with the weight of this, it's pretty substantial. I don't have to exert any extra force. I just rub these two together. And I just wanted to see, well, I'll be using this one in the future because it's easier to carry for sure than this one. This one, with a permanent camp, you can have something like this for sanding your wood shafts, but if you're on the move, it's much easier to carry something like this, or even something smaller. This gets gummed up a little bit too fast because it doesn't hold abrasive. But you know, this also, so maybe this will work a little better. I think what I can do is I can hold some abrasive in my hand, and as it gets, you know, tossed out, I'll just put it back in and continue sanding like this. And it's you can see, even with a little bit of abrasive, it still gums up. I guess it also depends on the wood. This is hickory. And hickory, as you know, if you've sawn it on a bandsaw or something, it burns quickly. And it also burns quickly on stone. But I notice birch doesn't do this as much. Chinese privet also is not too bad. But I'm going to be trying other woods, and I'll let you know how they work. I'm going to try that poverty weed and probably some other local woods. Maybe some greasewood. That's what I was that's the word I was looking for. Try some greasewood in there. Now, greasewood has resin, so it might not work, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so after 15 minutes or so, looks like I'm making progress. I'm not going to go much deeper than that. And to remove the gum in there, or the whatever gets stuck in there, it's pretty easy. Just get another stone and abrade it until it comes out. You know, you can get rid of that resin or whatever deposits in the channel pretty easily by rubbing another stone on it. And that's what I've been using this one for too, for dressing these sandstone tools. These tools need dressing and cleanup just as much as antler does. So there's a maintenance factor involved with these as well. And I've been using this to address the other abraders. There's something else that I found I didn't show earlier. I found this in a stream bed, almost like this. I ended up, rounding off the edges a little bit because they were chipped. I did this chip, but when I found that it was kind of irregular, I made it more regular. But this looks like it might have been intentionally flattened as a platter for either the top of a piece of pottery or maybe even an abrader, so I kept it. And I have used it as an abrader for antler, but I hesitate to use it because I don't want to ruin it. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, I found this. Okay. Alright, so I'll continue with this a little bit. And when I finish this tool, I'll put it up on another video. But for now, that's good enough. And it feels real comfortable in the hand the way it is, so I might not modify it much at all from here. Alright.